So, Sheriff, would you like to introduce us?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl Leonard. I'm Sheriff in Chesterfield County, Virginia, right here in the central of the state. Happy to have Matt Butler come back to us. Matt's been a friend of the HARP program for many years now, and comes back and forth every other couple of years to tell his story to our folks here at the HARP program. HARP was started in 2016 out of my frustration with the lack of resources we're providing to people suffering from substance use disorder in a correctional setting. Jails are a good place to come and get clean and sober, but all we were releasing back then was not recovered, but clean and sober addicts still suffering with the disease of addiction. So we decided to start this program and change that outcome and start giving people the tools, the resources, the skills, the ability to deal with whatever was causing them the pain or void in their life that they had to run to alcohol or drugs to fill with. So HARP started in 2016. It's been a very successful program. This is a program that's judgment-free. It's a program of not only recovery, not only rehabilitation, but also redemption. And we're just happy you're all part of it today with our brothers behind us. This is the men's pod. And hopefully this is a great event today for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
that.
Thank you.
So just to quickly restate some of what the sheriff said, my name is Matt Butler. I'm here with my friends Alan and EJ, and we're at the Chesterfield County Jail HARP unit. And we are speaking for Generation S.O.S, an organization that works in addiction and substance use prevention, as well as mental health. And what we try to do is use stories to relate to young adults in order to help them make healthier choices in regards to those issues. And so we hope that today, everybody who's tuning in will be able to take something out of this that they can take home with them and reflect upon. We have an experience here that's incredibly unique. We're really grateful to the jail for letting us do this and to all the participants here. We're going to have a conversation where we're going to describe some of our personal experiences, and then about halfway through the event, we're going to switch over to a question and answer where we will welcome comments, questions, and shares of any kind, and we'll do our best to try to answer those as well as we can. So with that said, we'll jump into this. Would you gentlemen like to introduce yourselves?
Right. So my name's Alan. I'm a person in recovery. I've been in the HARP program now probably almost about 4 years. I'm scheduled for release in April 17th. The experience has been a brotherhood. It's been love. It's been some ups and downs. Going through here, learning about core issues that addiction and emotional that I have been kind of suppressing my entire life. And I'm here today. I'm grateful that y'all are here. I'm grateful to speak to y'all. And we'll see where this goes.
Thanks, Alan.
My name is EJ. Same thing. Grateful to be here. Grateful that you're here. I've been in HARP this go around for almost 7 months. Born in Hopewell. Pretty much just struggle with fear. That's really what got me to where I am. Just fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, not understanding who I was meant to be. A lot of not good enoughs. A lot of you're always gonna do wrong. Things like that kind of fueled my addiction. And again, I'm grateful to be here as well.
Thank you, EJ. All of that I can relate to. My experience, I'm someone in recovery as well, you know, and those feelings, those ideas, you know, my story, you know, I have been told that the disease of addiction is something that exists in, you know, prior to actually using the substance. And for me, what that means is that for as long as I can remember, I have had a voice in my head that tells me what you're describing, that I'm not good enough for things, that people are going to reject me, that I will fail at whatever it is that I try. I'm going to let people down. You know, and I worry about every possible thing that can be worried about. My whole life is about dealing with my own anxiety. And for a long time, what I found was effective for that was drinking, you know, and other substances. But I would say that when I was a teenager, I also was really clearly like chronically depressed, as they would say. I struggle with depression quite a lot, and that's something that I dip back into throughout the course of my sobriety and sort of have to deal with. But I know that when I was a teenager, the social component of that was a big cause of it. And feeling like I didn't know how to relate to other people was a big part of why I was using it. Is that, Alan, you want to jump in, and is that anything you can connect with?
Right. So I'd like to start out with like how I fell into addiction.
Perfect.
I'm 41 years old now. I've got probably about 18 years in and pretty decent long stints in incarceration. But it all started when I was 15. I was getting fitted for braces and I got premolars pulled and I was prescribed oxycodone. And at that time, I didn't really know what it is. It was just like, here's the doctor's prescription, take it. We did. At that time growing up, my father and mother had divorced. My father was an alcoholic. My father was more as a friend than a father. So my mother remarried. And at that time, he was a paraplegic. He was hurt in the Air Force. And he was had a lot of medications from the vet VA hospital. So after having multiple dry sockets and going through surgeries, I was prescribed for almost 4 months in and out on oxycodone. So when the pills ran out, I remember missing school and I was throwing up, vomiting, and my mom just thought I was sick. And come to find out that I had lit my brain on fire. And next thing you know is I know that I realized that I started searching for his pills in his room and I got away with it for a long time. So at that time, it really progressed until I got caught. And when I got caught, it was kind of like passed down, like shoved in a corner. Don't do it again. What are you doing? My mother was young when she had me. Kids having kids. So I was pretty normal child. I played baseball, was pretty successful in baseball. My grades were pretty good. I skipped from 6th grade to 8th grade. But all that seemed to fall away when I found opiates. And that's when the bad crowds in school, I would start hanging with the older crowd and like looking for attention. And now looking back, coming through the program and working on some things, I look back that I was looking for the attention of my father that I didn't have. And that's how I would lure my friends in. And so as that would go on, the behaviors that comes with addiction, when I was missing school and ripping and running, not going to school, being sick, is that I would actually go. By now I was getting my GED, dropped out of school, and then I went in kind of to the family business into tile, and I was doing residential work. So this is in the 90s. This is when the epidemic like really was huge for opiates. And 99% of the time when I came in to do your flooring, I was in your cabinets and I would find it every day. So
Wow.
It got really bad.
Wow.
And things would keep going and the behaviors would go. And if I was sick that day and there was something not found in that house that was opiates, cough medicine, codeine, anything like that, I would steal something. And that's how I fell into the criminal justice system and got onto probation. And this has been a merry-go-round for me for almost 25 years, of addiction. And I can't leave out alcohol, because the relationship with my father is that he'd pick us up on promised weekends if he showed up. And we were drinking at 15, 16 years old with my father and smoking weed and stuff like that. And that's how our relationship was. And I started to use that in the same field as like the older crowd. And I didn't know what I was doing really. I didn't see that the damage I was doing to my future, because nothing else I wanted in life but to hide those feelings of not having a father or not growing up or not being up to par, watching my mother cry, watching my mom get me lawyers in and out crying through the visitation windows. And all I did was cover it up. I didn't know to speak to anybody. I didn't know to sit with it. I ran. I've been running my entire life. And, I came into this program and I ran from these people here, and a lady, Miss Carrie Rhodes, she pinned me in the corner one day. She really did. And she was like, "You're going to stop running from me. I see you."
Hey, Carrie.
Right, and she did, you know, and I owe it to a lot of people here that didn't give up on me. This isn't my first stint in HARP. This is my second time in HARP. My first time I did 3 years in here. The place wasn't certified reentry for Department of Corrections. They held me 4 times, but on the 4th time they say we need him. He's got to go through our reentry program. And 2018, September 9th, I went, and it was terrible. That reentry program was full of nothing but drugs. And I went up there and I think I lasted about 6 months, and I started using it. I came home back on the same path. And that was a 4-year sentence. 90 days later, I'm home, I get a 6-year sentence. I'm 60 days to the door, 4 years clean. Grateful to meet you. I was here in 2017 when you were here, Matt. I've been here the other 3 times you've been here. But it's been an experience. It really has, with the classes between clinical and peer-to-peer. I have people that's come across my life that are not seasonal. These are lifers to me, a lot of these people and a lot of staff. They've been there for me for my ups and downs, my growing pains. You know, at 41 years old and just waking up out of a substance-induced coma, I like to call it, you know, and able to look in the mirror and be proud of what I am and what I stand for today. And, you know, they've offered me the opportunity now to be on work release, which we fought for 3 years. And now I work right across the street. I work 6 days a week. I'm balancing work and recovery. I'm not just getting out from ground zero. Got a bank account, credit building card. I'm walking out of here, driver's license, vehicle. You know, that's something I've never had at 41 years old, never had a driver's license. So, you know, it's pretty big for me.
Dude,
So,
Wow.
so
unbelievable.
yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, listening to your story, it's also, first of all, you sound like you were a lot more functional than I was when I was a kid, because I was a mess up until the point that I used drugs, and you were playing baseball and doing all sorts of good stuff. So you were doing better than me, man. But I got to just say, man, it just sounds like that really could be anybody's path, you know. And my parents got divorced when I was 4, you know, and I know, oh my God, do I know what that's like to try to win your dad's attention. I've been coming in to play music in prisons for about 8 years now. And a big part of why I think I started doing it was to like prove to my dad that I was like somehow like tough, you know. And like I always just was fighting for his attention and for his love. And the reality was he's actually like offered it a lot, but I just, for whatever reason, couldn't accept it and couldn't receive it. But I just so moved by that, man. And I just connected with it. EJ, would you tell us some of your story?
Yeah, I don't mind. Hindsight's 2020. The moment I believe I lost myself was the moment I found drugs. I was raised mother and stepfather, but that's my father. You know, he came in my life when I was 2. My grandfather was present. I started taking karate at 3 years old. Moving from one environment to another one is what really caused my loss of identity. I have friends that would judge me because of some of the things that I'm into. I heard a lot, man, I was too white to hang with my Black family, but I was also too Black to hang with my white friends. Going from Hopewell to Prince George is a dynamic shift in culture, right? So I started to like pretend or find ways to make other people be comfortable around me. It wasn't about what I liked anymore. And this was early. I learned at 8 years old, 8, 9 years old, like, I can't do these things here. I can't do these things there. Like, I can't be me anywhere I go. So I started smoking weed, and I realized that if I got high, I didn't care. You know what I mean? I could pretend better. I never cared about anything that I was into. I got my Black belt when I was between 11 and 12, in which everybody was happy for me, but I was high. I was high. I didn't enjoy it. I started playing football around my sophomore year. Athletically gifted, never played before, varsity team, scholarship to Old Dominion. None of that mattered because it really wasn't what I wanted to do. And the things that I wanted to do was not important to anyone that I cared about. So I ended up leaving school, still smoking, still hustling, trying to provide for myself. And I came home from college, lost, even more lost, because I was just disconnected. I started hustling, picked up hustling hard, right? But I can't sell and not use. That's not in my that's not something I'm able to do. I'm not good at that. If I have it, I'm gonna try it. And if I try it, I'm gonna buy it.
Right.
So I got introduced to opiates through a friend when I got hurt. The doctor had gave me a prescription. I ain't really paid no mind, did what I was supposed to do with them. But I woke up sick when my prescription was out. I had a friend that just gave me a little 30 and said it made me feel better. And that's when it started. That's when I realized, like, like I got to have these things, man. Dope sickness to me is outrageous. I've been suicidal while being dope sick. I've done some of the most egregious things to people when on dope, trying to be well. And that's, to my understanding now, that's totally opposite of who I truly am. So my biggest thing about being in this program is authenticity. I strive to be me in every aspect, goofy, silly, country, rap. I don't care, bro. Like, if it makes me happy these days, that's what's keeping me clean and sober, and that's what's keeping me on the right path. I no longer have to front for anybody. I got released last year from this program, and I did a lot of fronting in this program. You know what I mean? I did a lot. I still wasn't comfortable myself. I did a lot of, we have a saying, the right thing for the right reason, right? I did the right thing, but most of the time it was for the wrong reason, because I still cared what people thought about me. I still wanted people to like this version of me more than the other version of me. A lot of truths I didn't tell my last bid, a lot of secrets that I kept in the closet, a lot of reservations that I didn't speak on, which I should have. But that was all out of still being afraid that if they knew me, they would hate me, or they would judge me, or they wouldn't want to be around me. So this time I made a conscious decision to myself that, I'm not gonna lie about nothing. I'm gonna be me in every endeavor. And that is really helping me along my path. I seek counsel now. Like, I don't know it. 2 years ago, you asked me a question, I'm gonna tell you I know. Or I'm gonna give you some answer that I think you wanna hear. I'm gonna dress it up and make it real for you. Now, my favorite answer these days is I don't know. If I get into a situation, even if I go to explain something, I'll go, wait a minute, my bad. I don't know. Let me go find the answer, right? And that's just me working what this program has taught me as far as being connected, not being afraid to ask for help. All these things that I did not do that caused me to get what I always got. So I owe this program, I owe this staff a lot, like a lot. I don't miss Rose. Like, I look at Miss Rose like my mother. Like, her and my mother's connection is crazy. When I was on the run, Miss Rose would text me just to check on me, just to offer me words of wisdom. She would try her hardest to get me to make the right decision. Even though I was not ready to, she never gave up on me. Miss Bailey's like, I look at Miss Bailey like my aunt. I go to Miss Bailey with anything. Miss Hutchinson, this program here, it's a spiritual, not religious process, right? But it's God sent to me. And I really feel like that's the difference between here and a lot of places. And that's why I'm confident in being a person that's striving for long-term recovery this time.
Well, one of the things that, and first of all, we're going to have you guys say hi if you're comfortable with it at one point, because you're clearly the stars of the show without making it on the camera. But I think that one of the things that really is the strongest like testament to the work that's going on here is you both have an unbelievable ability to articulate your experiences. I mean, like, it's incredible, just not just the phrasing and the word choices and things like that, but your ability to really like go through layers of this and understand, what it is that's been underneath all of this, and to clarify it is incredible. But also like the understanding that like even like knowing those things doesn't necessarily equate to doing the right thing, right? It's still like an ongoing process. And when you talk about being comfortable with yourself, and authenticity, like I strive for that myself, but it's like, I think I spent a lot of time trying to make myself perfect. And then I've spent a lot of time since then trying to accept that I'm not perfect. And that's been just as hard. It's like being like, wow, like I'm not perfect. And the way you talk about being able to ask for help, for me, something that goes alongside being able to ask for help is being able to say, I'm sorry. Right? Like it's the same level of like humility to be like, wow, like I made a mistake. To me is somewhere in the same world as, hey, like I actually don't know the answer to that, and so for me, it's like
he's a really
accepting
good,
that
but it's so
limitation
hard to
is like,
think
it's
of.
huge, and also it's like the pressure is kind of off at that point to a degree, right? Because you don't have to be perfect. And the imperfection is where the authenticity comes from.
I like that. Have some kind of cream inside?
But you guys have, I mean, like, those are amazing stories. I like
This is good. So this is
It's
soft
it's
over
like
rice.
clearly having two
there's no rice in
athletes
there.
here.
No, you're
So
serving over rice?
was
Yeah, I
was
packed the rice down.
was any of
because it's
that
supposed
part
to
of your
be
story as well?
like
You said you
chicken
kind of
pot
lost
pie.
the ability to
Yeah, I
Filling.
see that.
enjoy
I like the
rice. I
your
put heavy
hobbies
cream.
and things.
I
I
put
think for
flour
me,
and
going
hot
from
water,
like,
mixed it in.
from being a
Okay, I put
star on the
spices,
field
thick.
and
salt,
always having people
draw.
just loving me for what I did for them, because I never really played football for myself. I think that kind of carried over to the lifestyle. I still wanted that fame. I still wanted that recognition. I still wanted to be. I still wanted to be relevant, in all honesty. And the only way I could really satisfy that rush was to jump into the streets. Like when I was hustling, it was people that needed me for things, which made me feel like I mattered or I counted. And that's really what drove the lifestyle for me. Just not being able to separate crowd from friends. The cheers and people being genuinely happy for something I'm doing, from people just liking me because I got something that they want, or putting up with me because I got something that they need. And the whole time that really wasn't even me to begin with. So I believe that played a big part in my transition.
That, and Alan, I want you to jump back in a moment, but I just want to say, for me, you said like you did it because you were good at it. I mean, I'm going to paraphrase, but this is what I heard, the idea that you did something that you were good at, but you did it because you were good at it, not necessarily because you wanted to do it. Is that right? So for me, I didn't start playing music until later. Eventually I started in my teens, but like I wanted to play music since I was like 8 years old or 7 years old. And I never did because it was harder for me than playing baseball or writing or history. Like I got very good grades, and I did those things instead of playing music because there was way less risk of rejection, because I didn't think I was going to be good at music, but I knew I was good at some of these other things. So I wanted the applause and I didn't want to look foolish. So at some point, thank God, like I got desperate enough to play music where I just like 51% desperate to play, 49% terrified to play. But eventually it switched over. But like I did so many things in my life for exactly the reason you're describing, because I thought I would be accepted for them rather than that I felt authentically pulled towards them. So I just appreciated you saying that the way you did, Alan.
Yeah, so I'd like to speak on, so my stories, we're all similar. The pain, the loss, and the misery is all there, but like survival mode. My entire life being incarcerated and stuff like that. Me being able to actually be clean and be outside right now for a year, I realized if there was any doubt in my mind that the disease of addiction was real, it's gone today. Because I realized that I can mess my life up without the use of drugs. Yeah. Right? Big time, big time. And the obsession and the compulsion and stuff like that is there. But I realized that when doing all this time, going to the hole or being in the system away from loved ones, that there was some type of apathy, and like I had the ability to put things in a real pretty little box and put them where they need to be. Right? But that's not the case anymore. I read a book in here. It was called The Upside of Your Dark Side. And it talks about anxiety, fear, and stuff like that, and how you're able to flip that. You can turn your anxiety into hypervigilant and use it in your job or use it in it, but you've got to believe And you got to be able to articulate it that way and present it to yourself that way, you know? And I'm learning every day that like, just take the drugs out of my life. I got still so much work to do. And who do I rely on, you know? I know right from wrong, right? But it's like when no one's looking, what do you indulge in? And the one big thing I learned about in here is like, if you're ever convicted about something you're doing in here or some type of behavior and you don't change, it's going to consume you. And, you know, I've been consumed by things out there and things like that. But most importantly now for me is the staying connected part. I know that I've been in here a long time and I've got the knowledge and I've done my work, but it's never going to stop. And I got to remember that the friends and the people that I built relationships with here, like we can all say that like programs have changed lives and stuff like that, but really it's the relationships in the program that really change your lives, because it's the people that stand up, they come there, they're there for you. I didn't really know what friends were. It was always transactional, you know. It was always, what can I come up on? What am I getting out of this, you know? And learning the spiritual part of the program, it's not about that, man, you know. Holidays are coming by and Christmas and stuff like that. And now I'm in the street for the most part. And now it's like, I'm having to be a part of Christmas, and I'm learning to, like, Valentine's Day's around the corner. What am I going to get my mom? I've never got anything from my mother. You know, I've been incarcerated my entire life. So I'm learning that I'm still numb to a lot of things, and there's some work that still needs to be done. But it's a fear. It's a healthy fear, because it's really what I want in my life is to be, you know, I have a 14-year-old son. You know, I've only been home 1 year of his life. And, you know, that's a big one for me, you know, because I don't want to be like my father. You know, my father was real distant and stuff like that. And it's going to be changing for him, for me to come home and he's going to be there and I'm going to be there. But like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to take on this task. This is what I wanted my whole life. And I really got a leg up here. This is the most amount of clean time that I got coming out of an institution, and I have built something for myself. Normally I get out there, I build my empire, I build my army, then me and my army, we tear it down. And that's not the thing today. I got an army of brothers. I got an army of network that's got substantial clean time. I don't have social media. Well, I do have TikTok, but I don't have Facebook, right? I'm not gonna let go of TikTok, right? But you know,
Unless they get rid of it for you, right? Yeah.
But sometimes I can get down in my rabbit hole sometimes, man, you know, and be in my own head, because that's what I'm used to doing. I'm used to going to lock myself away in a cell and I can get under my blanket and I can just hide from everything, right? It's peaceful there, but there's benefit in solitude, man. There's a difference between solitude and isolation.
Totally.
Right. It's all perception, man, and how you perceive it. And if you're constantly working on yourself and you're working a program and you're working your mental, physical, and spiritual, because those are the three aspects that are going to make this thing come together for you at the end, you know? And I've realized that I can overcompensate. Like being a person that suffers from substance use disorder, I either overcompensate or undercompensate. There's no finding a medium. Alan, get rid of that. You're not perfect. You're not going to find that equal playing field, man. You just got to constantly each day strive, give your 1%. That's what I call it. Give your 1% on your worst day.
There's so much of that I can connect with. And
Right.
that idea of the upside of the dark side. I had an experience the other night where I was thinking about putting this event together, and in my bed at like, you know, midnight, not sleeping and being like, what about this? What about this? What about this? Is the cable going to be long enough? Like, what about how long does the battery last for? Like, just, and I was kind of beating myself up about being like, you know, overly anxious. But then another part of me was like, well, this is actually why I'm good at what I do.
Come on.
You know, and I was like, this is actually, this thing has actually served me very well. Like I think of details, you know, and like, but I have to chill it out at times too. And I kind of have to know when these things are on overdrive. But like, that's the reality of a lot of stuff. Is like gifts, you know, things have like light and dark, shadow and light components to them. Like gifts can be curses and curses can be gifts. And it's totally illustrated in what's happening right here, because you guys are talking about some really hard things that you've gone through, really difficult things that you've gone through that we would all say we would rather, you know, you hadn't had to do that. But the reality is like right here, right now, you've kind of flipped the script, right? Like there are people listening to this who are hearing what you're saying and thinking to themselves, wow, like I get that, you know? And there are people who are younger, who are not at all those phases yet, who are listening to you. And they're thinking about the things you're saying, and your negative experience is really becoming something positive for them, you know. And there are actually there are some guys from state prison in Ohio that are listening to this, you know, and you're talking to those guys right now, you know. And so you've got that where you found something that was dark and now you're turning it into an asset, right? You know, and I think that for me has been the key to like everything that I've done as far as like playing music. And so I just, if you can, because you can't get rid of it, right? Like you can't just like clip it off and leave it behind. So you got to figure out some way to integrate it into your life, that we've had these experiences and we've had this history. But for me, it's become, you know, my history was how I first learned how to relate to guys like you know, and you're me, you know, and like, I haven't been incarcerated, but there's no reason why I shouldn't have been, considering the things that I did in my experience as well, you know, and the things that I did while I was chasing my high and while I was chasing my addictions and stuff like that. And I can't say why I didn't end up incarcerated, but like, I just know that those experiences have been my ability. That's how I've been able to connect with people as well. And you guys are doing that right now. So I just want to again say how grateful I am for you sharing your stories, and I'm not sure where we're at with time.
We're 12:32, so we could go to.
Should we switch to Q&A or?
Sure, whatever you like. You guys are awesome, by the way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I needed this today.
I think we all do.
You know, it's good to just offload here and there, man, when you got to, you know.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes I don't know when I need it.
Right.
You know, and then like, wow, yeah, like my heart kind of needed this. So what I think we could do is maybe see if there's Q&As through the chat, and also if any of you gentlemen, is there anybody here that would like to share or make a comment or say if there's anything that you've related to so far in the conversation that we've had? And no pressure at all, but if you would like, please just raise your hand. You want to come over here actually and introduce yourself, and here, you can take my chair. Oh, say your name.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Maddock.
Tyler.
I've been, so I could tell my story, right? I was born in Denver, Colorado. I'll make it kind of short. I didn't have a father figure growing up. He was an addict and addiction. He was an alcoholic as well. And I ended up moving to Virginia, and I moved to a rough neighborhood. And I was really the youngest guy in that neighborhood, trying to hang out with all the guys that were older than me. And a lot of them were in addiction, and they were kind of living wrong, and I was trying to fit in. So not having a father figure, right? And then my mom moving to Denver, moving from Denver to Virginia, she kind of got into like a bad relationship. And long story short, I was kind of just running the streets for a while, and I ended up falling into addiction. I didn't really have anybody to look up to. And so I kind of veered off for a while. Then the trauma that I faced, right? I guess I can get into it a little bit. I'm not gonna get too deep into it. Or no, I'm not gonna get into it. So my addiction just picked up, and I didn't know how to stop, right? And then I got incarcerated for the first time, 17 years old. And then I turned 18 in juvie, and then I got out, and I was kind of like just doing the wrong thing for a while. And then long story short, I ended up coming to the HEART program. and getting the structure that I needed, and I ended up finding a new way to live. This HARD program saved my life, and all the staff in the program really helped me out. It helped me find a new way to live and helped me deal with my feelings. I was going through my emotions and stuff like that. And yeah, recovery's been the best thing that I've ever done in my entire life. My life is really good now. It was a struggle for a while, but it was definitely worthwhile. So now I do everything I can to feed my recovery. But yeah, this HARD program saved my life. So
Thank you, Tyler. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Tyler.
yeah. I was kind of put on the spot a little bit.
Yeah,
you know
sorry
me,
about
but
that.
No, it's fine.
Are there any questions coming through on the? Okay, would anybody else like to say anything or ask a question or share anything? Yeah, go for it.
I
Robin.
will if there's no one
Yeah,
else.
please.
First of all, I just want to say thank you both. You guys are incredible, and I hope you will come speak for us at Generation SOS when you're out, because your stories are extraordinary. And, you know, as Matt said, you know, there's no reason why I'm not in here. I'm sober now. I just celebrated 32 years. Right? That, you know, Oxy wasn't around when I was doing my thing, and if it had been, I am, you know, because no one knew, doctors didn't know that, you know, after, I think it's now after 3 days, your body becomes physically addicted. I'm sure my story, I'm sure I'd be dead, let's just say that. But anyway, you both touched on so many things that resonated for me, and just the idea of connection, you know, the opposite of addiction is connection. And it's so important to remember that, and that's what you guys talked about it. But I know for me, you know, it was all about getting approval from my parents. That was such a big part of my story as well. And doing things that I didn't necessarily want to do, but maybe I was good at, and that wasn't what made me happy. And so it's so important to find your authentic self, and to find what makes you happy, and to be real. And I love when you talk about asking for help. That was the hardest thing for me to do. And that to me is there's the pause, and there's the I don't know. And it's so okay to say I don't know and ask for help. But I know you guys helped me so much today. Your stories are so valuable, and I can't wait to have you speak, hopefully for us, to schools and communities. You will save lives for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, sir.
Steve, coming at it.
Steve.
And that, this is my first time in Hart. Actually, this is my first program, but this is all I know.
Steve, are you comfortable coming a little closer to?
I'm a little way.
Good.
If you don't mind, sir, you know, but I greatly appreciate you coming. First time I'm meeting you, first time I ever heard of it. What's your story? How did you become clean?
My story, you know.
Thanks for letting me share.
Sure, thank you. You know, for me, I just can't remember a time when I like felt okay, you know, as far as just being an incredibly kind of nervous and you know, I just kind of always, it took me a long time to be able to articulate this, but I would say that for as long as I can remember, I felt the need to prove that I had a right to be alive. You know, like I just didn't think there was I didn't deserve to be here. I had to show people why I deserved to be here, and that kind of led me to doing all kinds of crazy things. And then I sort of felt useless my whole life as well. You know, really purposeless, and that kind of led me to feeling the need to use. You know, just to kind of deal with that sensation. My experience is that.
Just turn the volume on.
Sorry. You know, my experience is that actively using is like the most exhausting lifestyle there is. You know, that it's sort of nothing but crisis management and damage control. And I would say that I got to a point where I would wake up in the morning or in the afternoon or whatever from a blackout. And I got to the point where I would just start, erasing the messages on my phone before I listened to them, and I would erase the text messages on my phone before I read them, because it would just be too heartbreaking over and over again. You know, so the thing that led me to getting sober was breaking people's hearts and breaking my own heart, you know, and just the pain, you know, and there's a thing that like, that I still feel really strongly to this day is like, I want people to see the good in me. Like, I believe that I'm a good person, and I believe that I have the capability of being a good son and a good brother and a good husband. I really believe that. And it was the knowledge of that that led me to getting sober, because I got to a point in my life where I just could not be in denial any longer about the fact that I was not being those things. But I really want people to see the good in me. And that is like feeling, you know, that to me, that's a little different than just sort of thinking what other people care about me. It's just like, I want that part of me in the driver's seat. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I had to get sober, because I wanted that part of me running the show, and it wasn't running the show for a very long time. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. I like that.
Yeah, man.
That's part of me in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
I like that. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah. It's just too hard for that not to be the case, you know? And people think sometimes it's like being sober or whatever is like difficult. And I'm just like, the other way is way harder, man. It's way worse. But
So you guys have a question from
great.
youth tax credit. So one question is, a friend at 5 Point says there isn't an active meeting or program at this facility. We started reading daily reflections when he called me and then to share about it. Any suggestions for developing a program at our facility? And this is somebody in another jail who's saying, how do you do this?
Wow.
It's a good question,
That's
right?
a loaded question. It's a huge
It's a
question.
very loaded question, yeah.
Right.
So
Why don't you
why
come
don't
a
you
little
guys talk
closer
about
to the
how
mic?
Sheriff Leonard started this program?
All right, so starting the program, well, I mean, we were in the height of the epidemic of fentanyl, and Sheriff Leonard was downstairs and just had an awakening of like, hey, I'm treating this place as a medical ward, treating the disease of addiction because everybody's dope sick. And he got his team together. So the people that are watching this video, if you have the resources in the network to, hey, have a voice in there and can get something done to pull a program together, that's what he did. And he pulled a program together. He opened up a pod and he went down there and said, hey, do you do heroin? Yep. And put him in the pod. Do you do heroin? Yep. Put him in the pod.
He said, do you want recovery?
Well, do you want recovery?
So do you have
Right,
heroin?
right.
Everyone come.
Right, right. So
We got
do you want
some.
recovery? Or, you know, are you looking for help? But along those lines, you know, are you an addict? And, you know, if you had the acceptance enough to say yes, then you were getting in the pod because, you know, you wanted help. So you were going to be a part of the solution. You get in here, you get some NA books, and then you're going to have to start from there. But the peers are going to make it. We're a peer-to-peer program. Staff is here for if we need removals, sanctions. But other than that, the accountability is with us. We got mentors, assistant mentors, rule monitors. We got service positions in here, line guys for trades. You know, it's the basics. We got cleanup. That's you have to start it. You can't just throw a bunch of stuff on these guys in the beginning. You got to work it a little at a time and let these guys come to y'all with the suggestions to try to build this thing. And if we're based off NA, so you can't go wrong from there. We also have AA. We have Smart Recovery. We have MAT, which, you know, Medicaid assisted treatment, Suboxone. We have a lot of different avenues here, faith-based. You know, we've grown. We're 9 years in the making, but it wasn't like this in the beginning.
It was
You
peer
know,
helping peer.
It was peer helping peer, and it still is. We have a little clinical asset, you know, in there, but we need that. We need both sides. But that's basically what is going to have to happen? I mean, that's a big question to ask, but if the right people were listening to this and seeing what they have, I encourage you to reach out to Kerry Rhodes, Miss Bailey Hilliard, and Sheriff Carl Leonard personally, and they can fill you in on the logistics.
Thank you so
say
much.
too, I'll hop in. Yeah, I was gonna say, we got it.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Bailey Hilliard, and I'm the program manager here. I am also an Ohio State Buckeye, so hi to my Ohio Allen Oakwood guys. My dad's actually the chief in the jail in Franklin County, so if you've ever been at the Pike, I'm really sorry. They're working on getting that place better, I promise. But no, for starting a program, what we have observed is you need a champion. It needs to be somebody has some level of power that sees a problem and wants to do something about it. And so it's getting your local legislators, it's getting the people involved in the community on board to help. And you as an advocate are able to do that. You're able to advocate for that. And then service work. It comes down to the community. The NA and AA community had to save themselves a long time ago, and people are just now starting to catch on board and help. But it really takes that community being involved. And so getting into those facilities, whether it's for an NA meeting or a Celebrate Recovery meeting or whatever it may be, a faith-based meeting, getting in there and just starting to get to know people and caring for people and loving people is really where I would say it all starts. And it starts small. It doesn't HARP is, we've had probably, 3,500 people come through the program over almost 10 years, but that's 10 years of building. That's 10 years of support from the community and being incredibly involved. So it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but it starts exactly like what you're doing with just a phone call with a friend, doing a daily reflection. How does that become a phone call with 3 guys becoming a daily reflection? How does that then become a meeting at the jail doing a daily reflection? It'll start small and it'll trickle down as long as you have commitment and people that care. So thanks, y'all.
Yeah. And I think what the sheriff did when he came, and it was ingenious at the time.
Sorry, would you mind?
Yeah, he
Thank
came
you.
and he made this a peer-to-peer. He went and found peers on the outside, brought them in, and then they started to spread this message of recovery as possible. And the scaffolding that Alan's talking about, we've built around HARP in the last, years, because addiction is the solution to a problem. It's not the problem. It's the solution to the problem. And so for us in here, safety is the foundation. All these guys in the community that they have created, that we all get to be a part of, is one of love, safety, and connection. When you walk into HARP, everybody claps for you. And people have their head on a swivel, like, where am I? Like, what is happening? Are they gonna take my stuff? And they are gonna take your stuff, but they're gonna take you to your room, and they're gonna help you unpack, and they're gonna see what you need. And then, if you need anything, they're gonna make sure you have it. Because that's the foundation for all changes, creating a safe program. But I would say just do it. Sheriff Leonard just did it. He didn't wait for somebody to say you have permission. He just said, how many people want recovery? Guys said, a couple of them said me, and that was the beginning of HARP. And, almost 8.5, 9 years later, Sheriff Leonard and I just got back from Africa, where we were invited to show and talk about what we do here in HARP, because it's one of the best programs in the country. And that's a testament to the guys and the women sitting in these seats, because they are HARP. HARP belongs to them. We have, as mentors, they have domain over other inmates. That's a no-no in corrections for those of you who are sitting in whatever facility that is. But that's what makes this work. It's their program. It's not ours. And we remind ourselves of that often as a team, because it's about supporting them. It's their recovery. I learned in the fire. I lost my son in addiction 5 years ago. And the one thing that he taught me was that he didn't need to be fixed. I tried to fix him. I was a therapist. And what he taught me was that my job was to walk beside him and help give him access to the tools, but it was his work. And we've brought that model in here, and that's what we try to do in here with them. It's their work. If I'm working or my team's working harder than them, we got to pull each other up and say, whoa, Nelly. Because nobody rides for free in here. When you come into HARP, if you think it's, movies and Gatorade and pizza, you're in for it. It's not. It's really hard work, and they work from day one. They program, 8 to 10 hours a day, every day. And the programming is on them. Like, they're doing the inside work. They're not trying to figure out, things outside themselves. Like EJ said very nicely, like, it's an inside job, and it is tears, it is snot, it is facing yourself. And it is hard. But when you have people who are sitting beside you, holding holding on to you and saying, you know, we got this with you, it makes a difference. And that's your recovery. I mean, Alan, I quit Alan all the time. Alan says we're all recovering from something. And I think that's the truth, whether it's perfection or, you know, not good enoughist or addiction or gambling or whatever it is. The world's full of things that we can cover with. So, you know,
Thank you so much.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Oh, you got another question.
Yeah, so as someone who did time but didn't have a substance use issue, but has plenty of childhood trauma and serious self-worth issues that led to selfish behavior, how does serving others help your own sobriety?
So just to repeat the question closer to the microphone, we're talking about somebody who has been incarcerated but does not have substance use history, but they want to know, you know, that they, I mean, and this is actually really interesting because they're talking about their own sort of selfish behaviors, and it's really amazing to see how those things can be separated, right? Like we were talking about how, you know, you can do damage without necessarily being high.
Right.
So this question is asking, how does service to others help with sobriety and with those selfish behaviors?
For me, helping someone else forces me to step outside myself. It puts me in a position where I'm putting someone else's needs before my own, which is something that I'm used to doing for me. I'll do anything. I'll do anything that I feel like is beneficial to me and only me. I've been selfish for a long time. I didn't care about nobody. But anytime I step out of my body and help someone else, it really strikes like gratitude. Like someone may come in and they may need a t-shirt, and I have an extra t-shirt to give that person. And now I look back, like, instead of me complaining about how my t-shirts are ripped or how they're dingy, at least I have t-shirts. It puts things in perspective for me. If someone's hungry and may want a soup or something, right? If I give them a soup and I see the look on their face knowing that they're finna eat, maybe I need to be a little more grateful for the fact that I have soups and I'm not in that position. Because I've been in that position and no one reached a hand out. So being able to put that hand out, to put forth the energy to help somebody other than myself is how I ground myself or remind myself. This guy told me one time, he was like, I once complained about my shoes until I met a man who didn't have any feet. I once complained about only having 2 icy whites until I realized that there's somebody in this pot that doesn't have an icy white.
Amazing. Come on.
So that's how I reach out. That's why I help people. Helping other people reminds me of the things that I have that I need to be grateful, the blessings that I have.
Virginia.
And it lets me feel good about
These guys
showing
are
somebody
prisoners.
else the right thing to do.
Fantastic. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Do we have any others?
We have another one. So what are some coping skills that work best to support your recovery journey and overall well-being? And how have those changed over time while being in the
I didn't have my.
What are some of your coping skills to support?
Okay, so we've learned CTTT,
What happened?
Certified Trauma Tapping Technique.
They don't have it to stop.
And we got havening, where we start
Do they know
havening.
when
If you
they're
get
getting it?
nervous, if you suffer from anxiety or just have some fear, you can just do this.
Lorinda, please mute.
Tapping. They're on, they get based off the old Chinese acupuncture points. We can tap. We've learned about just a lot of things. We learned how to write essays. I promise you that. You know, 500 words, 1,000 words, but you know,
It helps.
that's the point of the LE process here, a learning experience in the program, is that, you know, when you're held accountable and you have to write an essay, you're mad. That's why we always say you got to wait 24 hours before you even put the pen to paper. Because we know you're in your feelings. I've been in mine. But I'm gonna tell you what, after you're done with 1,000 words and you've got to reach inside deep to talk about some type of synopsis that you've done in the program, where it's awareness or respect, you got to dig deep. And at the end of the day, and you're standing in the circle, you're actually kind of proud of the work you put in, because I don't think there's one person in this room that can't walk around and was like, hey man, read this, what do you think? Knowing inside, you know, it's good.
I know it's good.
It's good. See, and that's what it's about, right? Because something happens there. You look back about how much time you wasted being mad. You own your slice of the pie, Because when you own something that you did, it dies right there. There's no speculation, there's no more. And I wanted to talk about real quick, what y'all were talking about selfish, right? There's a part of me, like, my biggest thing right now is it's progress, not perfection.
Bingo.
That's my crutch,
Bingo.
right? And I talked about something earlier about overcompensating and undercompensating, not finding that medium. So I will go outside of my means to help somebody, you know, and then there's some times where I want to be selfish. So I'm still working. It's a balance every day, you know, working with that, you know, whether it's helping somebody get their laundry done that's on work release with me that maybe doesn't have that opportunity or people in his corner right now to help. I help, you know, or it could be just anything. A phone call, somebody that's getting out of jail, because we're right by my job is right by probation and parole. So these people are getting out and they don't have a phone, need to use the phone or something like that. But then again, my blocks go up because I know that he's probably going to ask for money, drugs, or anything like, and that's happened. And it happens a lot. And I used to run because I'm a great runner. I've been running my whole life from Allen, right? From me. But let me tell you what I did one day. I felt bad. I sat in that corner in that booth at the Burger King. And I said, man, what happens if I could have said something to this man to change his life and save his life? So I turned it around. I flipped that switch. And now I embrace it. I don't get the fear and anxiety that I'm going to use or I'm going to fall victim to addiction again. No, I stand up for what I learned. I stand up for what I believe in. I stand up for the man I am today. And I talk to these people. Hey, man, I'm a person in recovery. See this band right here? My buddy just died. You know, a good friend of mine overdosed on fentanyl. And before you know it, he was going to ask me for drugs. So I wear this as a shield today. You know, I got Pray First and Stephen Rogers, good friend of mine. And I use him. And he's a tool every day. He stays alive on me every day. And I use him to my advantage out there to help me, help him, keep him alive and try to help out and be a part of the voice of recovery, the voice of redemption, the voice that we can do this, you know. And the selfish part I'm working on, man, I really am, because I've never been out there long enough to just be sober and function normal and being in a family, being a friend, being a brother, being a son, any of that. So now it's just like I'm learning money management at 41 years old, you know, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. It's my story, you know, I'm owning it now. So there's no, you know, my whole life has been in a cell, painting a picture of what I want my life to look like. But as soon as I get out, my decisions never line up with that picture. I'm tired of it. Not today. I'm straight shot. I'm going to get what I deserve. You know,
It's amazing, man. And I just want to ask quickly, these photos that we see, these are people that have overdosed.
yes.
So I'm not sure if you can see there, but there are a lot of photos up along the stairs and along the tier, the top tier there. And those are all photos of people that were they participants in HARP?
Absolutely. There's a few on there that were car accidents and some other health issues, but most of them are overdose.
That's a pretty powerful reminder to have around here.
90% of those people I know.
Wow.
Personally.
Well, I'm sorry for your
Yeah,
losses.
it's tough. And then that was a part of it too. You know, getting used to people that you care about in the program, learning, watching these guys come in and buck the system, and then having a breakdown in the circle with the tears, and then it's all pulled together, and then he walks out there and comes back.
Yeah,
on the wall, and it's tough.
Yeah,
you know,
I've had similar experiences where you feel like somebody has really switched their path, and then you get that news, and it's really shocking.
And it wakes me up to just realize that, like, you know, nothing's going to change with this addiction. It's still going to take lives. It's everything like that. But we got to be up there on the forefront of this thing. You know, we got to be on the front lines. You know, going out there 4 years clean and falling into addiction. There's no coming back. There's no overdose. It's death. It's death these days. There is no coming back. And I believe that in my heart.
It's a pretty rough climate out there as far as this is concerned.
It is.
2 minutes to wrap up. Well, thank you, everybody, for your questions. And obviously, thank you all. And thank you guys so much. We have 2 minutes left. Do you feel like there's anything you'd want to say that you haven't said, or something you would say to your 15-year-old self, something like that, you know?
You made it. You made it.
Yeah.
Don't use.
You
Yeah,
don't use.
Don't use. Yeah. To touch on the coping thing, right? Coping skills that I use, things that benefit me. Meditation is big in my program. To be able to sit down and be still and recenter myself. My friend Eli taught me that I could do that at any point out the day. A few minutes, just sit down, breathe, come back to present, make it happen, right? Another thing that's big with me, writing, music. I stopped writing a long time ago. I just picked back up, and me being able to put my emotions on paper helps a lot. Even my goals and my dreams, right? I will put it on paper, because once I put it on paper, it's no longer a thought, it's really existing now. And if anything I could tell my younger self is, man, just be you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just at the end of the day, it's just me versus me. One thing that I take pride in is being able to look in that mirror at the end of the day and go, I didn't lie, I didn't steal,
Totally.
I didn't hurt, and I didn't get high. And I sleep good with that.
Dude, thank you.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, man. Thank you
All
so
love.
much.
Yeah,
All
definitely.
love, all
Thank
love.
you.
Definitely. Thank y'all.
So everybody, this is Generation SOS. This is our first of what we think will be many Correctional Community Initiative events. This is Chesterfield County Jail, HARP. We are so grateful to be here, and thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been amazing.
So we're the first ones?
Oh, yeah.